in 6 minutes starts now.
Chuck Malamut, your Financial Matters next.
Another celebration in Philadelphia. I'm Chris Foster, Fox News. The Eagles win the Super Bowl, and now Villanova wins the men's college basketball title. Here's Fox's Jared Max.
Chris, Philadelphia declares its independence as Titletown, USA.
Michigan ran into a supernova tonight for the second time in 3 years. Nova is number one.
Villanova won the NCAA men's basketball championship, beating Michigan 79-62. Most outstanding player of the Final Four, Dante DiVincenzo, scored 31 points off the bench for head coach Jay Wright, who's proud there's no I in his team.
Villanova is about community. It's not about the individual. So if they come there, they kind of already know.
Audio courtesy of the Westwood One NCAA Radio Network. Villanova, champs of the NCAA bracket. Chris?
Jared, thanks. President Trump is tweeting this morning in support of Sinclair Broadcast. The company's getting pushback over forcing local TV stations to run pro-Trump segments and promos warning about fake news in the media. The president writes, the fake news networks, those that knowingly have a sick and biased agenda, are worried about the competition and quality of Sinclair Broadcast. New rules for automakers, another way President Trump says President Obama went too far. Fox's Rachel Sutherland's live in D.C.
Chris, the EPA is getting ready to roll back Obama-era regulations requiring automakers to nearly double the average fuel economy of new cars and light trucks. Proponents of the regulations say they were designed to reduce greenhouse gases. Automakers have argued the standards put into place in 2012 raise production costs and add to the cost of vehicles. Scrapping the emissions regulations will likely provoke a court battle with the state of California, which has said it will stand by its own stricter standards. Chris?
Rachel, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is canceling an agreement with the United Nations to resettle thousands of migrants from Africa. He announced the deal with the UN Refugee Agency just yesterday, saying it would be good for Israel. He says now he's weighed the pros and cons and decided to back out. Fox News, fair and balanced.
What the hell happened last night?
It was an accident.
One of America's greatest cover-ups is now a major motion picture.
Dead body holds a lot of secrets. Those can be the difference between guilt and innocence.
Critics are calling Chappaquiddick tense, scrupulous, suspenseful.
Moses had a temper. I have Chappaquiddick.
Relentless and edge-of-your-seat absorbing.
Moses had a temper, but he never left a girl at the bottom of the Red Sea.
Chappaquiddick. Rated PG-13 for thematic material, disturbing images, some strong language, and historical smoking. Friday.
Hi, I'm Darla from Cintas.
Oh, thank goodness you're here. We have so much to do. I need fire extinguishers, right?
We'll place them for you and be out for regular inspection.
Great. And what about my new hires?
We'll get them into uniforms and keep them looking sharp.
What about this first aid cabinet?
Fully stocked.
It wasn't this morning.
It is now. And so are the restrooms.
Wow. Cintas really seems to know what we need.
You said it.
Oh, I'm ready.
Learn how Cintas can help you get ready for the workday. Visit Cintas.com.
State Attorney General Gurbir Grewal plans to hear from you on the dangers of marijuana. The first of 4 public hearings will be held later this month as the state considers removing weed's designation as a Schedule I drug. That rating, which dates back half a century, puts marijuana in the same category as heroin and LSD. With all the cold, wet weather we've had, farmers can't plant their spring vegetable crops. Ag Secretary Doug Fisher says a lot of Jersey farmers are frustrated.
As soon as there's a break in the weather, you can pretty much assure yourself there'll be, almost like an army planting our fields, everywhere.
A Florida man told police he was following his heart when he traveled to Collingswood and then to Philly to have sex with a 12-year-old girl. Liam Helm first met his victim on the gamer chat room called Discord. The girl's best friend tipped police, and then her parents reported her missing on Thursday. She was found. It's unknown her condition, but Liam has been arrested. I'm Eric Scott. This is the Town Square News Network.
Spring is a season of volatility, and that absolutely describes the forecast over the next couple of days. An isolated shower possible this morning, scattered showers this afternoon. It's not going to amount to much. Lots of clouds and temperatures stuck in the mid to upper 40s. Thermometers will continue to rise overnight. We'll end up in the 50s by tomorrow morning with a continuing chance of showers overnight, and 60s expected by midday tomorrow. Then a cold front will drive around a rain and thunderstorms through the state. A gusty wind and tumbling temperatures tomorrow afternoon. I'm meteorologist Dan Zero.
From Harry Hurley Way in the world's playground to the broadcast pioneers of Philadelphia Hall of Fame.
I want to congratulate my friend, Harry Hurley.
You're about to find out why Harry Hurley has been named to the Talkers magazine list of the 100 most important talk show hosts in the nation. Live from the studios of Town Square Media in Northfield, it's Hurley in the Morning on WPG Talk Radio 104.1.
Thank you. Welcome back. 5 minutes past the hour. Chuck Malamut is here. His regular weekly program for the past 27 years, all about your financial matters with Chuck Malamut, who is the official financial advisor for the Hurley in the Morning program. Chuck is the managing director. He leads his team, the Malamut Group, at Morgan Stanley's Northfield, New Jersey office. You can reach Chuck and his entire team, the Torp and everybody, at 609-383-2010. Tell them Hurley in the Morning sent you. And the following program is presented, paid for by, sponsored by Chuck Malamut, a financial advisor at Morgan Stanley. The information, views, and opinions expressed on this broadcast are those of Chuck Malamut and do not necessarily reflect those of Morgan Stanley or its affiliates. They are current as of the date of this broadcast and are subject to change without notice. Neither the information provided nor any opinion expressed herein constitutes a solicitation for the purchase or sale of any security. This presentation is for informational purposes only. Morgan Stanley Smith Barney, member SIPC. Captain Kirk, have a great day. See you Friday night, my friend. Yeah. Friday afternoon, actually, because that's the book signing. Early arrivals are greatly appreciated by your host. Chuck, before the market update, I want to say good morning to my brother. How are you?
Good morning, Harry.
And I took great offense to this headline, which reads, I'm going to give it to you. It's a Bloomberg story.
Okay.
Stock's second quarter start is the worst since the Great Depression. And I don't know if you heard, because I know you listen when you can. I did a pretty detailed piece about this in my opening monologue this morning. What I thought was extremely intellectually dishonest. While literally true that it is the worst second quarter start since the Great Depression, because the S&P lost 2.2%, and that's only exceeded by the 2.5% decline of 89 years ago. And then they make the case the devastating crash that year brought on the Great Depression. Of course, the S&P was comprised of 90 stocks. It's a whole different situation, but they really don't go into the China retaliatory trade tariffs. The fact ours haven't even gone into effect yet. And I think they're taking a good economy and conflating it with a very dismal financial period in American history. And I don't think there's anything analogous to one day, on the day that China put their trade tariffs in, and trying to make it look like the Great Depression Part 2. I think it's really dishonest, Chuck.
Harry, good morning. Very disingenuous to say the least. Now, I think what happens is, and it's evident in that station that broadcasts financial news, and there's a couple stations. The general public watches a station, and it begins with a C and ends with a C.
Yeah.
The more intellectual channel, which most people don't watch, happens to be Bloomberg. And watching I'm not going to say anything out of school. Watching CNBC, unfortunately, at times, you think about their goal is to keep you focused and keep your eyeballs to the next commercial. But when they have the news flashes now in markets now in correction territory. And you get the news flashes across your...
Terrible day, worse than this. And by the way, I have to do a correction because I said something clumsily. This is not a Bloomberg story.
No, it was on Bloomberg.
They used the Bloomberg data, which the data is correct.
The data is the data.
And they used the data to then spin their Great Depression comparison.
Bottom line, we are witnessing now something that we did not see in 2017, and that's volatility. And volatility on the downside gets a lot of individuals, a lot of institutional investors, a lot of hedge funds, very, very nervous.
Yep, understandable.
When you look at volatility historically is part of our markets, and I think we might have said this last week. And if I'm being repetitive, I apologize for those that did not hear. The first quarter of 2018, I believe we had 22 days, Harry, of volatility in excess of a 1% move. Either way with plus or minus. we always have a tendency to remember the negatives, remember the down days. We don't remember about the good days. We don't remember that on, the Thursday before Good Friday last week is that we, up close to 300 points. Everybody seems to forget about that.
Yeah.
The other thing that happened in the first quarter is that we had 6 trading days where we saw moves plus or minus 2%. 2017, Harry, we had 0 days plus or minus 2%. We had, I believe, 8 days during the entire year 2017 where we had moves in excess of 1%. So, investors unfortunately got somewhat complacent, spoiled, and now the volatility has returned to the markets. It creates a fair amount of anxiety, and we had, I believe, 22 plus days so far Q1, plus or minus 1%. The average over the last 20 years, we've had an excess of 70 days per year, plus or minus 1% moves. But I think it's like anything else, something that we have to, reacclimate ourselves to what will be happening. The other thing that's happening, Harry, is that, right now we finished the first quarter. We are anxiously awaiting earnings. And, I can't, not that I'm trying to wish time away, but I do wish it was about 10 days from now. Only because the market is focusing on a number of things, of which they're not earnings related at all. If you take a look at last week, for instance, equity prices were, all over the place. They were lower at the beginning of the week. Trade war, that is an ongoing issue. Worries about the sell-off in tech stocks. And again, we had more news about the number one retailer in Washington and our government going back and forth as to is Amazon doing wrong by the U.S. Post Office, potential moderating economic growth, monetary policy. We continue to talk about increasing interest rates, and then obviously the turmoil that's politically that's happening not only here domestically but also overseas. And as a result of all that, we had an up and down week. It was a short week. We had 4 days. The S&P did rise 2.1% for the week. Treasuries, which we all expected the 30-year to be, or the 10-year to be on 3%, is now close to like 2.7. But what is happening, the yield, and I think you'll like, Harry, I think you'd be interested to know this, the yield on the 30-year is now hovering around that 3%. So the yield curve is starting to or continue to flatten out. The Fed is going to increase rates. There are a number of thought processes, two additional increases this year, potentially 3 additional increases this year. So think about if the yield curve is flat right now and the Fed increases rates 2 or 3 times.
Do you get the proverbial inverted yield curve?
Potentially, yes. It's either a continue.
I went to the Malamut school.
It's either a flattened yield curve or an inverted yield curve, and in the inverted yield curve, historically, it's
our word la 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 la
doesn't always happen, but it's something that we have to be concerned about.
Do you sense that is nirvana over? Is utopia over, or is this just more normal with some cyclical type?
No, I think, look, I'm going to dead set against the article.
Oh, the article stinks.
It's just...
And in fairness, though, I mean, we did talk about this, though, Chuck. President Trump has invited the potential of a trade war, and that's obviously something that created yesterday.
That yes, and sometimes saying less is better.
But there has been for many, many years a very unacceptable trade imbalance, though. And if he has the courage for a little short-term pain to try, I mean, because I can tell from the way that China is being very measured, they don't want a trade war.
Absolutely, they do not want a trade war because look at the trade imbalance.
Exactly. So this could get us to the table, and maybe we
have some negotiations.
Then markets might say, "Whoa!"
I think markets again. everyone is focused, should be focused on Q1. Now, what happened yesterday, as you indicated before, April basically started where March ended. Another volatile session for the S&P was down 2.2%. But what was interesting about yesterday's action, Harry, we never had a chance. We were negative from the start. What we have seen,
and it was way down at one point.
It was down 760 points, I believe, somewhere in that range on the Dow.
400 at the end.
It was down 400,
so
mid 400.
In your world, would you say that we fought back?
We did, and it would, you never like to walk out on a down day, but you felt a little more comfortable being down 400 plus versus being down 700
Chuck,
plus.
I didn't look, but I know that you did. Do the futures have a hangover, or what's going on?
No, actually, this morning, slight positive open. It looks as if, but again, that was, I looked literally a half an hour ago, and anything can change. We're not going to talk about individual stocks, but there is something big happening today on Wall Street. Spotify is coming to market, and it's very unusual what they did. They completely bypassed the traditional way of raising capital. They did not rely on investment banks. It's sort of like
crowdfunding.
Well,
I mean, I'm being facetious, but
it's not quite crowdfunding, but
private funding.
What is happening is they're going to list today, but the listing, it's as it is important because obviously they've been trading this stock, in the private markets. It's not a great day to come with what they're doing, which is not the traditional IPO. The process that they're going through could create a fair amount of volatility. Wall Street at this point in time is not taking a major role in the process. They have hired some advisors, but what they're doing, they're coming to market in an effort where they're just going to be offering the shares. They're matching buyers to sellers. Usually shares get locked up where they can't, where sellers can't sell them initially. Bankers step in and support the market. It's not going to be happening here. So it's going to be very interesting to see how the stock trades today.
Why so untraditional?
Because what they're doing is they've completely bypassed the traditional IPO. They are sending the shares out, and it's everyone you can go buy.
How will the market know how to evaluate what's going on when they've taken such a sort of counterculture approach? It's kind of interesting. Measuring success is a little.
I think, Harry, what's going to happen here, because you don't have the backstop, with a bank, that basically supports the stock for any of a number of days. And this is typically done with smaller companies.
Chuck, we've got to get the first break in. Let's go now. We'll come right back. Much more with Chuck Malamut, the official financial advisor for the Hurley in the Morning program, 609-383-2010. Sit down with Chuck and you'll understand in one meeting about Chuck's perfected concept of total asset management coupled with the all-important asset allocation.
At Ocean First Bank, our first thought is you. We put you first in all we do. Community banking for a century. We treat you like your family. Whatever you need, whatever you dream, let's make it a reality. Ocean First Bank, putting you first.
From personal and business banking to residential and commercial lending. From Kid Smart Saving to planning her dream wedding. From saving for your golden years to checking off your bucket list. We're with you every step of the way. Welcome to the bank that treats you like family.
Whatever you need, whatever you dream, let's make it a reality. Ocean First Bank,
Equal Housing Opportunity Lender.
Your credit card companies love you. They love it when your cards stay maxed out. They love it when you only make minimum payments. They love it when you struggle. Why? Because they own you. And minimum payments mean maximum profits. Here's great news. National Debt Relief is now offering you free information on how to escape your credit card debt nightmare. If you owe more than $10,000 in credit card debt and only barely making minimum payments, know this: you may not have to pay it all back. In fact, you may have the right to settle that debt for only a fraction of what you owe. National Debt Relief has helped thousands of people get rid of over $1 billion of debt, and they're A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. Get the information you need for free right now before this offer goes away. Call National Debt Relief now and escape your credit card debt troubles. Call 800-815-9591. 800-815-9591. That's 800-815-9591.
Hello, beautiful. I'm Amy Errett, founder of Madison Reed, a hair color company I named after my daughter. One of the things I value most in life is time. Time to spend with my daughter, time to spend with family, and the time I put into my company that's reinventing the way women color their hair. The busiest, most successful women I know use Madison Reed, the amazing hair color hack. In under an hour and for less than $25, Madison Reed delivers gorgeous, shiny, multi-dimensional, healthy-looking hair with an ammonia-free formula. You'll look like you just came from a salon, but the reality is you have more me time to do what you love. Things get busy. Let us take care of you and your hair. Find your perfect shade at madison-reed.com and get 10% off plus free shipping on your first color kit. Use code HELLO. That's code HELLO. Try it. Love it. That's the beauty of Madison Reed.
Your next chances to win up to $5,000 are coming up at 12:30 and 5:30 this afternoon.
We just won $5,000.
Thank you. Win Harry Hurley's money, powered by Franklin Bank, with WPG Talk Radio 104.1.
22 minutes past the hour. Chuck Malamut continues. Chuck, I know we're not allowed to talk about any one stock, and you never do, so I can't bring up the incredible drama of Amazon because we don't do that. But
no, we don't do that.
I know,
and we've seen the president take swipes at individual companies, at industries, sectors, and what it may be. But obviously, this stock right now is in his crosshairs, and
that would qualify as geopolitical. I mean, that is incredible. What an impact.
Absolutely. And, it's one of the topics. Let's kind of get through the agenda here because we kind of got a little sidetracked. But that was one of the things we wanted to talk about is, what is happening, with geopolitical risks here. It looks as if, investors are right now focused on all the downsides with respect to politics and the economy, but there obviously are some positives as well, Harry.
Chuck, I want to know: are we moving down to this item for the moment?
I'm going to skip. just for a second, and we'll come back.
I'm really pleased that this is on your to-do list because obviously, and again, you don't talk about any one stock, but come on, I mean, Facebook is just getting crushed right now.
So what's happening here is that let's go back to political downsides, on the economy, but there was also some positives, and Harry, we think that investors are probably overestimating the negative effects of increased trade tensions, but underestimating the positive effects of the stimulative fiscal policy that's involved, and then you get these hand grenades that get thrown out there. And it forces everyone to run. Now, Amazon, and I'm not going to talk about a particular stock, but it's a widely held stock in individual portfolios. It's owned in most every ETF, and it's owned in a lot of mutual funds. So it impacts everyone when you get the sort of action that you've had in that particular stock.
And its owner is also involved in the media.
The owner.
I can't.
It's no secret, but you sort of read between the lines. Is the president really taking aim at the company.
I'm going to just take a guess, Chuck.
Or a subsidiary company.
With my counting my early experience in the media, over 30 years of experience in the media, I'm going to say this is not about an attack on Amazon Prime membership and that something altogether different is at hand here, namely the Washington Post.
I will tend to agree with you on that, Harry. There's no doubt about it. But you said it, I didn't.
So I said it. I'm a layperson. I'm allowed to say it. He doesn't. The president is not offended by my Amazon Prime membership that I love. It's something altogether different. And then you take the other example that I gave and you didn't, and that is what Mark Zuckerberg. And I know this is something we can talk about on your show officially. The risks associated with consumer privacy issues is an enormous issue right now.
Yeah, so we think, Harry, at this point in time, that the larger technology companies, should be able to manage, the risks that are associated with all the consumer privacy issues. Now, I think, take a lesson out of the playbook as to the way Facebook handled the situation.
Terribly.
Well, yeah, it was.
In fact, for being in the communications business, they couldn't have been worse.
It was
how they did it.
Yeah, it was not well done, that's for sure. But what we think will be happening here is that,
Are you allowed to say how much of a hit that company took?
Well, I'm not sure. It was maybe 20%, somewhere in that range. But here's what's happening. Companies like Facebook, they're facing significant public relations problems, as you just identified. But we think the odds are fairly low that serious regulatory and or legal risks will disrupt their enterprises. So it's a matter of, again, staying focused, keeping your eye on the ball, and running your business, and do all the right things, and you should be fine. But
it is a perilous time, Chuck, because they want Mark Zuckerberg, to testify before Congress, and when you start getting in the meat grinder of all that goes on,
yeah, it's going to be.
That's not where you want to be.
And I think in any situation, Harry, and you've seen it before, whether it's a healthcare company, whether it's a technology company, whether it's a utility company, whether it's a financial services company, when you're in that, as you described, that meat grinder, it just takes a lot of time, resources, energy, to get through that process. And ultimately what is happening, you're taking your eye off the ball, and it's having, for the most part, a negative impact on the business because you can't run the business. I
totally agree with. I'm buying everything you're saying, Chuck, and I would add to it, it also tarnishes your brand.
Yeah, it does. So it's going to take, Remember the EpiPen, Mylan Labs? So it took them a number of quarters to work through that. But there's still a little bit of overhang,
because their reputation was they were gouging people with a life-saving drug.
So you have these instances, and this is not going to be the first, it's not going to be the last. And it's just, I think what we're trying to say is that we think these companies, are going to be able to see their way through it. Now, did Tim Cook make the right move? The other day and taking a swipe, who knows? But it just, but here's what it gets down to, Harry.
I'm going to say it was gratuitous and unnecessary, but
I'm going to agree with you. Here's what's happening. We are so close to getting Q1 earnings out the door. We desperately need earnings to come, and they need to be good. And all indications are they will be good.
Wasn't GDP actually upgraded?
Yes, it was. And so
because so much is going on right now, that's like forgotten.
So let's talk about the consumer for a second, okay? So in the consumer sector of the U.S. economy has been benefiting obviously from all the changes with tax reform. So confidence levels are higher, household net worth is improving. Labor market remains strong. Wages are increasing as well. Not so much last month. Last month, unemployment was reported. But here's where it really hits home. Michigan Sentiment Index, which was just reported for the month of March, reached its highest level since 2004. 2004, Harry. So 14 years ago. While the current conditions index, a different index, hits an all-time high. So is that getting any traction?
No.
Is it getting any airtime?
No. If you didn't say it, nobody would know it. Halftime break. We're going to come right back. Strong appearance already with one more power segment straight ahead. Chuck Malamut continues. We'll have a mini open forum segment after Chuck's program. And in the 9 o'clock hour, initially Dateline Atlantic City, we're going to give you a lot of what no one else is reporting about, things that are going on right now that we think we need to share with you just to set the set the mood, set the tone, set the record straight in some areas where actually either erroneous information is being shared or acts of omission. And you know that we talk a lot about acts of omission and acts of commission. You have 3 opportunities each Monday through Friday to win Harry's money. Here are the details. We'll be back with Chuck Malamut. All About Your Financial Matters continues.
720, 1230, and 530. The 3 times that you must listen to WPG Talk Radio 104.1, 720, 1230, and 530. Up to $5,000 could be yours. Listen for winning code words at 720, 1230, and 530. Then enter them at WPGTalkRadio.com for your chance to win. Win Harry Hurley's money. Powered by Franklin Bank with WPG Talk Radio 104.1.
This is Harry Hurley, and I'm with the Mayor, Charles Kane, owner and operator of the Auto Plaza, Egg Harbor Township. Mayor, tell your listeners who are looking for a car, why should they choose the Auto Plaza?
Harry, it's our full-service department, selection, and hassle-free financing alternatives that have set us apart for over 17 years. Over the years, we've been the recipient of many sales and service awards, as well as receiving an A-plus rating with the Better Business Bureau. It's been a real honor for us. We are now serving a second generation of sales and service customers. Stop in today. You're going to love our staff and experience what makes us different.
For all of your automobile service, parts, and sales needs, call the Auto Plaza at 609-646-2447. That's 609-646-2447. And visit us on the World Wide Web at myautoplaza.com.
The Auto Plaza at English Creek. Roll with Mr. Tire.
Have you ever spent a night on organic cotton sheets? If you have, you've probably never slept better. Hi, I'm Scott Tannen, founder of Boll & Branch. We make the softest, most comfortable, 100% organic cotton sheets you will ever sleep on. You can't buy our sheets in store, only on our website. Because we only sell them online at bollandbranch.com, our sheets cost less than half of designer brands and are twice the quality. You won't believe how comfortable 100% organic cotton sheets can feel until you try Boll & Branch. Hundreds of thousands of Americans love Boll & Branch sheets, including 3 U.S. presidents. Don't just take my word for it. Sleep on our sheets risk-free for a month. If they're not the most comfortable you've ever slept on, you can send them back for a refund. Plus, if you order right now, we'll give you $50 off your first set of sheets plus free shipping at bollandbranch.com. Promo code SLEEP. Spelled B-O-L-L and branch.com. Promo code SLEEP. bollandbranch.com. Promo code SLEEP.
Did you know that about 80% of college students change their majors at least once? Instead of spending tens of thousands of dollars trying to make a decision at a high-tuition, four-year university, consider New Jersey's outstanding community colleges. Community colleges offer a top-notch education at an affordable price. Community colleges offer flexible schedules, smaller class sizes, qualified professors and support staff, extracurricular activities, and athletics. Explore a wide range of majors and career options. Earn college credits while deciding the best career route for you. So start college the smart way. Save money and time while getting a solid education at New Jersey's 19 community colleges. To learn more, visit njea.org/higher ed. The members of the New Jersey Education Association are making public schools and community colleges great for every student.
This message is sponsored by the New Jersey Education Association, the New Jersey Broadcasters Association, and this station.
If you ever want to buy a house or a car, you're going to want to know your credit score. If there's a mistake on your credit reports, you could pay more in interest rates and fees than you have to. Where can you go online to quickly get your credit score and credit report for free? CreditKarma.com/radio. Check it whenever you like. It's free and there's no catch. Don't get an unwanted surprise about your credit score. Go to CreditKarma.com/radio. That's CreditKarma.com/radio.
Hey, wake up with Harry Hurley and drive home with me, Sean Hannity, 3 to 6. It's all happening here on WPG Talk Radio 104.1.
We're back 34 minutes past the hour. Chuck Malamut, for all of your financial planning needs, turn to the official financial advisor for the Hurley in the Morning program. You can reach Chuck and the Malamut Group at their Morgan Stanley, Northfield, New Jersey office, 609-383-2010. And your list is long, Chuck, and time is yours.
Let's talk a little about capital expenditures, Harry. The levels, one of the things we talked about is like, what are all these companies going to do with the reduced taxes they have to pay, which ultimately is going to create more cash flow. for quite some time, it looked as if most companies were concerned in using that money for stock buybacks, which ultimately, decreases PE ratios, which should increase price valuations. But now what we're seeing is the capital expenditure levels are starting to move in the right direction, and we think that trend's going to continue through 2019. So obviously, the corporate tax cuts have helped, along with a weaker dollar. We still have very, very narrow spreads, credit spreads, which in the credit market, which makes it easier for corporations. And then we have obviously rising energy prices. So the protectism that we see, however, represents a risk to higher CapEx levels. So it's something that we have to be. It's good, sort of good news, more good news than bad news, if that makes any sense. Okay. First quarter 2018, I guess you can kind of summarize it, Harry, as the return of volatility. We kind of talked about it just a few minutes ago. You think about what happened in early February. We had a very, very sharp market downturn in early February. The sell-off that we had 2 weeks ago featured less negative market technicals. The volatility levels were lower. Trading volume was less. Fewer stocks hit 52-week lows. Now, that was going into yesterday. And yesterday, if you look at the market, it focused on the FANG stocks, and it focused on the trade tensions that are ongoing. And pretty much that was all the news. There really wasn't much to talk about. So, we think that the worst of the correction is probably behind us. Hopefully, like looking in the rearview mirror. But there's other technicians that are saying that we're going to test the lows that we made in February in the S&P, the Dow, and the NASDAQ. We're very, very close. We've penetrated the 200 moving day average in the S&P 500. So, you have one side saying, hey, more downside to come. And then you have the other side saying we think we've made it to the bottom, and ultimately, better times will prevail. So,
hard to tell which.
Well, you never ever know, because you can't drive. We talk about this all the time. You can't drive looking through the rearview mirror all day. It's kind of impossible.
What I have become really sort of attuned to, Chuck Malamut, is how certain events that used to be big and would impact markets aren't even a yawn. And then you never know what one is going to get the markets in a tizzy. I think it's fair to say if you have the beginnings of what could be a trade war, that's going to get everybody's attention because it gets everybody lathered up. Farmers are worried about the cost of goods, and other people are worried about profits because if things cost more and this and that. You mentioned energy costs. I'll break out one fragment of it and say that I have noticed there's been a creeping up of the price at the gas pump fairly precipitously in recent weeks, hasn't there been?
Yeah, so Harry, the price nationally,
6 cents just yesterday.
$2.65 for a gallon of unleaded. We were at $2.47 at the end of the year, so that represents an increase of over 7%.
And from the Malamut School, I learned that every penny at the gas pump is about a billion and a half. So how do you do?
Right. So now the other thing that's happened, if you look back where we were a year ago, the price of unleaded, nationally speaking, was $2.32. So that represents an increase of over 14% year over year. So the cost of energy is certainly more expensive, to the consumer, and the price of West Texas crude as we know it is $64.91 as of last week. Closed the year at $60.46. So that's kind of in line with the price of at the pump, an increase of 7%.
By the way, is this just raising for fun and giggles? I mean, I'm not aware of any interruption of supply or really OPEC ministers, monkeying? What is this just because they can?
It is because it is. I mean, it's the price of West Texas. What's interesting is now up almost 30% year over year, and it hasn't been reflected really in the stock in the prices of energy companies. So it's pretty interesting phenomena what's happening here.
Who are generally speaking, because this does not violate the principle of talking about one particular stock, who are the winners right now? I'm not speaking about just some of the volatility in the first quarter, but who are the performers right now? Which
if you look at the S&P, for the year going into yesterday, down less than 1%. Two sectors outperformed positive for the quarter. Technology up 3.5%.
Impressive.
And again, this is ending last week.
Yeah, but impressive.
Consumer discretionary down 3%, up 3.1%. Then sort of listing, they're all negative, but the best of the worst, I guess we'll call it, is financials, healthcare, industrials, utilities, real estate, materials, energy, staples, and telecom. And those losses ranged, Harry, anywhere from 1 to 7.5%. So, to answer your question, the best performing was tech. The worst performing was telecom for the quarter.
How do you think tax reform is shaking out?
Well, as I mentioned, a little bit earlier this morning, the consumer is benefiting by it. It looks as if companies are benefiting by it. A lot of
this time next year, people have a little bit of
I think a lot of citizens living in New Jersey, Connecticut, Pennsylvania, New York, California. Is there any theme to what I'm saying?
Yeah, all high taxed, all high property tax states,
and all states that went which way when it came to voting, for the most part, with the exception of one.
Yeah,
are all going to be faced with either. I don't think, for the most part, the tax savings, the cuts that we have seen, are going to be prevalent in this state and in the state of New York for sure. So I think that's something that all of your listeners need to be, made aware of, because it's great whether they'll file their return now, but you might want to try to get a little bit ahead of it and let your accountant sort of breathe a little bit and come back to that, that person or that company in May sometime and say, listen, can you run a projection for me and see what this is going to look like?
That's a good idea.
For 2018.
It's a good idea. Chuck, this sort of goes back to earlier in your presentation this morning, but as a point of emphasis and sort of a closing point for today's program, you have a great statement in your program schedule for this morning. Fundamental conditions remain solid. Reasons for optimism, reasons to be cautious. I like that. I think that's intellectually honest. I think it's smart to talk about that. And I turn it over to you.
So what has happened, Harry? We see reasons, obviously, for pessimism, but we see fundamental conditions have remained relatively solid. We are in a fairly broad trading range that has been developed in the last couple months, and I think it's a good idea to sort of highlight the reasons that we should be optimistic, and reasons on the other side, well, we might need to be a little bit cautious. So let's talk about the plus side for a second. We talked about the economy, and that backdrop remains solid. Monetary policy, while we are seeing increases in interest rate, it's not yet terribly restrictive. So that obviously bodes well. Earnings, we can't wait for Q1. We think they're going to be strong. We think they're going to look promising. Trade issues.
Are markets expecting that to be true?
Absolutely. You poll the markets, 80% of the strategist economists think that you're going to have a very solid first quarter earnings.
So let me ask you what that means. The reason I posed it the way that I did is I knew you were going to say what you said, and if it does well, it's expected. So there's not going to be any big party for it. But if it doesn't, then that's terrible news, right?
If it doesn't go well, I think from a technician's point of view, you'll probably break through the numbers that were set in February, and there could be some concern for pessimism, obviously. So
this is important.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's go back to the plus side. So we talked a little bit about trade. So we are the opinion that the trade issues are more rhetoric than reality. It's like anything else. The president throws out everything and then sort of steps it back. So we think that's going to happen here. We talked about what's happening with all the privacy issues. Tech company issues are so far more public relations than actually fundamentals. The geopolitical risks that we've seen are more isolated and contained. It's not, you don't have this contagion going, throughout the world. And one thing we really haven't talked about, it is politics, is that the Mueller investigation has yet to come up with a smoking gun.
Yeah.
Now, on the flip side, what do we need to be concerned about? So we look at the economy, the growth rates that are out there, could end up peaking as inflation, firms up. Central banks could tighten up faster than expected. The trade rhetoric could lead to a trade war. The tech sector problems, could trigger regulatory risks. Increased government security or scrutiny could stifle, M&A activity. We talked about what's happening today. Geopolitical tensions always had the potential to escalate, and we've seen that happen. And then, the president could trigger, a constitutional crisis by ending the Mueller investigation. So you have seven reasons to be positive and 7 reasons to be a little bit cautious. But we think markets are going to focus more on fundamentals, which should provide some tailwinds for equity prices. I think, you think about, we've had in this long-standing bull market, we've had a number of occasions where we've had corrections in excess of 10%. So we're obviously, all eyes are on first quarter results. It could provide, a catalyst for a stronger equity environment, and we'll know better, Harry. I think we're here next week. I think we'll certainly have a better idea what's going on.
Look forward to that. Also, on behalf of our Early in the Morning charity, thank you, and Pam, for your support of our upcoming dinner on Friday. Chuck, I want to say thank you for that.
Harry, looking forward to it.
It's going to be a great night.
And have a nice crowd coming. Good job.
Thank you, sir. If I could stretch you 1 minute, unrelated to your duties as official financial advisor, but putting on another hat that you were very successful wearing for a long time before you became the great Chuck Malamut in the world of financial matters, and that is that the Atlantic City market, which contracted, is now going to expand by 2 additional casinos. What does your gut tell you about that?
I think that
I'm very torn about it because I believe there was a lot of pain, significant
getting to this point.
Yes, getting to this point and having a right-sized market where it's healthy. You want to say this is great too, because I would rather. I think a part of me would rather only Hard Rock was opening. I'm wondering, is the Atlantic City jurisdiction ready for 2 additional casinos?
Harry, my opinion has nothing to do with research.
Yeah. Am I truly not either?
I think we might be a little bit stretched.
I think so.
It's going to
but
be.
But it will probably create contraction of another one closing.
It's very potential, yes.
One of the 2 that are opening. And out of the 2 that are opening, I'm only convinced that one of them is completely solid. So it's going to be very interesting how this shakes out.
Yeah, I'd be interested to talk to Mark Giantonio.
Interesting you should mention Mark, because Mark welcomes that end of the town having the places open again. He is very bullish. It's funny you would bring that up.
Well, they obviously it helps with the foot traffic,
right?
And it brings people to that side of the town. If they were able to get through some very, very challenging times of being the only one open, I agree with you. I think that, and Mark, I think that'll be a positive, for that organization. Not quite certain what happens when you move a little bit south on the boardwalk. Are they going to be taking that foot traffic and sort of moving it up, uptown, so to speak? But we'll know.
A big positive. Ocean Resort is teaming up with Hyatt.
I did see that.
And that's great.
That's going to help with the reservations. But there's a lot of work to be done in that facility, and hopefully they learned from the mistakes that happened the first time. And sometimes, and I'm not saying anything.
But without reconfiguration, the casino is still too small, and the front desk is in the wrong location. There's a lot of things.
There's a lot of things wrong physically with the property, some of which probably can be corrected. The question is, can you do it and what cost? I think the other concern, Harry, is the name recognition and, what happened, before they closed or what forced them to close. And can any organization or any company overcome that?
Well, here's also a good thing, though. They won't have the debt service that the other operator had on the ocean resort side, so that's good. Secondly, another thing on the positive side of the ledger, these thousands of additional rooms will be very, very good for everybody from Meet AC to sell to the properties themselves. So that's good. Events that need a certain amount of rooms will now have more rooms.
And don't forget parking.
And parking.
I mean, parking is big. I mean, it's one of the issues that the town was faced with as they contracted. I know that you're going to talk about city government, which I'm going to stay away from, and
appreciate that
because I have nothing to do with that. But what has to happen is everyone has to be in lockstep here. You can't have the city government going to the left and the operators going to the right, and a lot of the news that's coming has to subside. And
you still have a state takeover.
Yeah, I forgot about it. Yeah, exactly. And you have to be able to operate. So, look, I think you and I are the same opinion. We don't want to see any facility close. We don't want to see people unemployed. We obviously need these operations to open successfully, employ thousands of people.
Yep.
Because everyone benefits by it.
It's going to be great for our economy.
I think for sure. So the question is, as we always talked about, there's gaming. You think about it. You can be almost anywhere and be within a couple 100 miles of some casino.
Or the casino's in your pocket.
Or the casino. Yeah, exactly. The casino's online. So, Florida, Delaware, Maryland, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, New York, Massachusetts. I mean,
the jurisdictional
obviously
competition is just
Nevada, California. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. So your smart marketers that really have a handle on their business and their customers, will be the survivors.
It was interesting how this all went. You had Las Vegas to the west, you had Atlantic City, the Mecca of the east, and it was beautiful. Two sort of monopolies, and it was just great. Sometimes Atlantic City was on top, sometimes Vegas was on top. That was sort of cyclical in nature. Then all of a sudden, a company opens up, the Mashantucket Pequot Indians, and our good friend Al Luciani, brilliant. They open up Foxwoods, and nobody really cared. It took this little sliver away, but nobody really cared. Then the next one opened, All of a sudden, it really became an issue. And then, of course, I never wanted Ed Rendell to become governor, even though I love Ed Rendell, because, we saw him every Friday and Saturday, and he's a great friend. He's a really good guy. One of my daughters ran into him not long ago, and he said to send my regards to your dad. We're friends and all this, and it was beautiful. But I knew if he became governor, Pennsylvania, who was adamantly opposed to casino gaming, would change their position, and they did. And that was the jurisdiction. That was the dagger.
That basically, put the
took
dagger in the heart of
Atlantic
Atlantic City.
I mean, that was that.
Exactly. So now it's a matter of, is the town right-sized? I mean, I think these properties are coming online at the right time. It sounds like I heard, again, I don't want to speculate and spread rumors, but I heard that Hard Rock is sometime in the summer. I think they were initially looking.
I always thought Memorial Day weekend, for everything they're doing, which is going to be fabulous.
It was a little bit of a push.
And Jim Allen, that was always going to be tough. So I don't know what the exact date will be, but I always thought Memorial Day weekend was ambitious, to say the least.
But the good news is they'll come online. They'll come online in the correct way.
Yeah.
Hopefully, Ocean, will not be too far behind and be able to be successful as well. And Harry, look, you never know until you can push out a year, 18, 24 months, and to see where we are. But hopefully, this is what Atlantic City needs, and Atlantic City can get itself. It is on track now. There's no doubt about it. I mean, the revenues are there, and I think the additional hotels, rooms, and parking and restaurants will be very, very helpful for the city.
Awesome end to your program, Chuck. Thanks for the bonus for the overtime.
Harry, looking forward to seeing you and all of your guests.
It's going to be great.
On Friday evening.
Brian Kilmeade and Chuck Malamut in the same.
No, I think
same ballroom.
I am just a guest, Harry. That's
Chuck
all I am.
Malamut.
Thanks for having me.
See you, buddy.
Have a good day.
You got it. For all of your financial planning needs, turn to Chuck Malamut, the official financial advisor for the Hurley in the Morning program. 609-383-2010 for all of your financial planning needs. We'll be back in just a few minutes.
Health Update with Robin Stoloff is brought to you by Integrity Physical Therapy and Wellness and Dr. Stuart Honig of Go Feet Podiatry.
Some of the germiest items we touch are right in our own homes. For instance, that hand towel next to your bathroom sink. If you're not washing your hands thoroughly, you're rubbing bacteria onto a moist towel, an ideal condition for bacteria to grow. Those towels should be washed every few days. Another reservoir of germs are toothbrush holder, which people almost never clean. One report found 27% of toothbrush holders were home to coliform bacteria, microorganisms that include Salmonella and E. coli. And don't forget that kitchen sink sponge. It's one of the grossest items in our house. It can carry hundreds of millions of bacteria. Get rid of it and pick a kitchen cleaning tool that you can throw into the dishwasher to disinfect it like a cleaning brush. I'm Robin Stoloff for Health Update.
Health Update with Robin Stoloff is brought to you by Integrity Physical Therapy. Put yourself in their hands and Go Feet Podiatry. Your feet will thank you.
When the need for senior care arises, there's no place like home. Your loved ones should never have to give up living at home. Visiting Angels will provide home care for your mom or dad at home up to 24 hours per day, including personal care, meals, and light housework. You'll select your professional caregiver with Visiting Angels. Look up visitingangels.com or call 877-374-LIVE. That's 877-374-LIVE. Franchises are available. Visiting Angels, America's choice in senior home care.
Napa know-how. Time to start adding to your bucket list. No, not the skydiving meet your idol bucket list, the Napa bucket list. Because now when you buy a Napa bucket for $2.99, you'll get 20% off items you can fit inside. Minimum $50 purchase. So live a little and save a lot with the Napa bucket and 20% off. Quality parts, helpful people. That's Napa know-how. Napa know-how. At participating Napa Auto Parts stores while supplies last. Exclusions apply. Offer expires 4/30/18.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-555-2085. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-555-2085. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-555-2085. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. Call 800-555-2085. 800-555-2085.
Win Harry Hurley's money up to $5,000 3 times every weekday with WPG Talk Radio 104.1, powered by Franklin Bank. For complete contest rules, visit WPGTalkRadio.com.
And this portion of Hurley in the Morning also brought to us by the Harbor Pines Golf Club, owned by the legendary Gerwicks family, the exclusive golf club for the Hurley in the Morning program. And I was just checking the latest weather because it's actually to the point where it's fairly reliable on Tuesday morning-ish to look at what something will look like on Saturday. Now, obviously, things can change, but with the rain that's coming the next couple of days, I can tell you that as it looks now, it'll be about 65 degrees. And what a day. If this holds, what a perfect spring day. Partly cloudy, which actually is better, I think, than a sunny day. Because even though it's in the mid-60s, if it's bright, brilliant sun, that's a lot different than if you're on a partly cloudy day like this will be. Sometimes there'll be some sun, sometimes there won't be. $59 to play golf anytime this Saturday, April 7th. There's going to be free driving range all day, free video swing analysis, free clinics at 10 a.m. driving, 12 noon short game, 2 p.m. putting. There's going to be a party atmosphere and happy hour all day, and you can get your clubs regripped. And there's all kinds of neat things happening there with Frank Hanlon as well at Harbor Pines Golf Club this Saturday.
GG Atlantic City, WENJ 97.3 HD3 Millville. Everything you need to know in 6 minutes starts now.
And Dateline Atlantic City, 6 minutes.
Immigration judges are told to get illegal immigrants out faster. I'm Chris Foster, Fox News. The Justice Department's announcing new guidelines meant to break up a backlog of deportation cases in the system. Some judges argue, though, fair decisions can take time. Fox's Rachel Sutherland has more from Washington.
Chris, the DOJ's Executive Office for Immigration Review says judges must complete 700 cases a year to earn a satisfactory grade. That's about 3 a day. Judges with higher caseloads will be allowed to request an internal